If you are fighting against technology, you will lose. It is the history of mankind. There's a lot of people that could be way more free if they didn't overextend themselves on what they're buying. The reason I always win is because I have intent. My employees first, my customers second, me third.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 and 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 and 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Gary Vaynerchuk, and my take on his top 10 rules to success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Be self-aware.
You may love talking about basketball, you might just be boring. So you've got to be self-aware about it. But my big thing is, you may be boring, but it makes you so happy. Like, my big thing is, people don't like their jobs or lives, and then they go and consume things to escape, and I'm trying to get them to create to get happy. You may never become Stephen A. Smith, but if you start a podcast about the Pelicans, even if it gets a little juice, maybe some free tickets to a game, now you're pumped, you like the Pelicans. It's a lot better than watching an entire Aaron Hernandez Netflix documentary.
Rule number 2, use available tools.
I also think that all of these things that we're talking about can be scaled, right? So my career is going along nicely, and I'm winning on email marketing, 90% open rates, and I'm winning on Google AdWords the day it comes out. I'm buying every wine term, that's working for my dad. And then comes along YouTube. And I see this platform and I say to myself, there's something here. And you can't run ads on it at the time. So I decided to do a show. And I'd never thought of myself as I thought of myself as gift of gab, but more like a good salesman or, a class clown that the teacher kind of liked, And so I didn't realize what I was going to be able to do in that format, but I started a very big show that garnered a lot of attention, and it really, really worked, and it really got going, and it really taught me, oh my God, I don't have to spend marketing money. This attention is trickling down organically to my dad's business. There's something here. And then Twitter came out, and I started using it to promote Wine Library TV, and I'm like, oh my God, this Friendster MySpace thing is about to become much bigger. It wasn't called social media yet. It was called Web 2.0. Twitter was known as a Web 2.0 app. And I started using it, and Google buys YouTube for $1.7 billion. And I say to myself, oh my God, I was right about this. I was right about Google AdWords. I was right about email. I'm not a wine retailer. I understand what people are gonna do. I need to become an investor in what I think people are gonna do. In 2007, I invested in Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. And that obviously changed my life. My brother was graduating from college. I was starting to make videos about business that were catching people's attention. And in 2009, I decided to start VaynerMedia to do marketing for the biggest brands in the world so I could learn big business, because I understood Silicon Valley, I understood small business, entrepreneurship, but I didn't understand executive Fortune 500 land, and I didn't understand why they were doing so many silly things in a world where I thought Netflix, Facebook, Amazon were gonna be the next big thing, and they turned out to be way bigger than I even kind of predicted, even though I was predicting the tippy top. And so that's been my career. I've written 5 New York Times best-selling books around marketing and consumer behavior and psychology. But what does all this hyperbole around me mean? It means that I believe that every person who's watching this right now is me in 2009. Here's what I mean by that. I had a level of success. I was good. I was enjoying myself. I was building a big company for my parents. I was excited to think about what I was gonna do for myself next. But the scale of the internet, by using the tools, completely changed my life. And I believe that what the internet does is exposes things. So I don't think the internet changed me. I don't think it made me nicer. and stronger at my craft, I think it made more people aware that I was nice and strong at my craft. And so I think for everybody who's watching right now, I don't think they realize that if they started producing content on LinkedIn about what they know, not what you think people want, not to get followers, but to put out content of what you know. Storytell. My grandpappy taught me when I was 10, this, I now did this for my salesperson today. That's the video. You don't have to be an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm a person that has hypotheses and opinions. And because a lot of them became true after 15 years, and I've put the actual business wins on the board, now people look at me in a different way. But I don't even the flattering introduction and our talk beforehand, she makes me feel so good, but I don't think that makes me special. I think it's just a nice feeling to be admired, and I think when you layer humility and curiosity around being good at a tool, great things happen. Let me give you an example. When books came out, I'm being serious now, when books came out, clearly, and I have no knowledge of this, but this is very easy to understand, clearly there were individuals who became more aggressive at reading them and amassed knowledge. And my intuition is the ones that were able to be practical and operating were able to do something with that knowledge and succeed. When tractors and innovation hit farming, the people that didn't demonize it, and many did, many said that's not real farming because they were fearful that it was gonna take away jobs from their people, which was a nice thing, but they were trying to fight technology, which is always the wrong answer. Let there be no confusion. If you hear or feel anything from this keynote and Q&A today, please let it be this. If you are fighting against technology, you will lose. It is the history of mankind.
Rule number 3, be free.
We are absolutely at an inflection point where there's people like me and different things happening where we're starting to have different conversations. Like freedom is what everybody's chasing, but they're confused about what it actually looks like. It's not how much you make, it's how much you spend. There's a lot of people who could be way more free if they didn't overextend themselves on what they're buying. Keeping up with the Joneses, it is the poison of our society.
Rule number 4, have intent.
To scale, I do believe you need culture. At 1,000 people, we have offices in Singapore and London and Chattanooga, Tennessee. Like you've gotta really have culture. I think the fact that you're even thinking about it already means you have a shot at it. It means you're gonna throw money at it and you're gonna have an HR department that cares about the employees, not as a disguise for the finance team to fire people. It's just intent. Like just even hearing how much you know, talking, seeing your vibes in the crew, this is just intent. The reason I always win is because I have intent. My employees first, my customers second, me third. That's a very easy way to win in business. I think we all know that's not how most people do it. And if you're sitting here right now and saying, I'm gonna start this business to buy a boat. 2, customers, because they're the people that are gonna give me money. 3, employee, you're gonna build a very small business.
Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, I've designed a special free training to help you do it. The science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action to build a new habit. And I want that for you. I want you to build the habit of self-belief. So what I'm going to do is email you every day for 254 days a link to an unlisted video that will shift your belief forward. To get on it for free, the link to join is in the description below.
The reason people aren't patient is they value other people's opinions too much. I think everybody here, if I told them everything is gonna be okay, you can have everything you want, now what are you gonna do with your day? I think a lot of people know. I always choose positivity. I look at other people around me, it's not just about me, that are winning, they choose positivity. I look at the people around me that are not winning, that are not progressing, that are not advancing, they're choosing negativity.
Rule number 5, build your self-esteem.
If you're self-aware, you don't try to do things you can't do. You focus on things you do like. You don't try to be something you're not. If you have self-esteem, you're not scared to put it out, the content, the video, the picture, the audio, because you're not worried if Sally Pants 49 thinks you're ugly. You're not worried that Rick Thompson from a competitive company says you're stupid. You're just not worried. You're not worried that you have bags under your eyes, or you're overweight, or you're losing your hair. You're just not worried. You're focused on your self-esteem, you're focused on yourself, you're focused on your self-awareness, which puts you in a position to succeed. And so all of you, one of the challenging times in my career was around 2012 when people all wanted to be like me. And I'm a very, very over the top, high energy personality who's very, very comfortable on video. And that is just not gonna be the case for everybody. And I tell everybody, and it took me a while to get to this good answer, which I think has helped people. Listen, my friends, if you're watching this right now and being like, okay, I see what Gary's setting up. He's gonna ask me to start producing a lot more content. That's the answer, by the way. Well, I don't wanna do video. Well, I'm like, good news, Sarah. You don't have to do video. For example, I'm a terrible writer. If I was a great writer, I'd be writing a lot more. Because writing on LinkedIn crushes. As a matter of fact, my team loves when I write all the copy on my Instagram posts, right? All of them, everyone, every post in my life. And they get pumped when I get motivated and like write a real good one because we know the post does better. Copy is the most underrated thing in social media today. It drives so much of the success of the picture and the video. So, by the way, you might be into audio, you might be a talker, but you're insecure about your visual of how you look, or the camera makes you freeze, but you're great with talking, so good. There's now Clubhouse, an incredible app you can go and be a thought leader in. There's just recording audio and posting that on your LinkedIn. LinkedIn, for this group, knowing who's in the room, is equivalent to what Facebook was in 2012. That will lead to incredible financial and emotional success to those in here that heed the call that I'm yelling today. Period, end of story. I could not be more passionate about everybody here getting very serious. And then what you put out is up to you. You know, my recommendation is that it brings value to people, whether it's entertaining, whether it's informational. But I also believe that stories are easier for people. This is something that I'm gonna start talking a lot more about. I think stories, just stories, like life lessons. Grandma told me, and then if you're good at, and I've already brought this up, I'm gonna bring it up again because I'm trying to help everybody here, give you some training wheels. If you say, hi, I'm Karen, I'm a sales lead at this company. This is for my team, but honestly, this is for the broader world because all you sales leaders, I know how it is. You know, when I was 9, my grandmother took me to a Girl Scouts event and Sarah Johnson did this and I did this and grandma told me to do that and then I did this and me and Sarah Johnson were best friends in high school. And that's ironic because I had a big tiff between Carl and Carla recently on my team and I did this, like my grandma did that, and now they just closed the biggest account together. That story, that should come very natural. And by the way, you don't need to call out Carl and Carla, right? Because that's active. You're in the world right now. You can be 2 people on my team. Just think about how easy that is for what everyone's struggling with, which is, well, what do I post? What do I post is grounded in lack of self-esteem and lack of strategy. Period. And so I'm here today to build your self-esteem, and not in a delusional way. I'm just trying to encourage you to realize how real this is, because the content creators that build awareness and audiences will have the leverage in business, whether it's a small, narrow world. And by the way, this is a small, narrow sector, most of the business people on this call in this thing. That's great, actually. The reality is, that's great, because then you run a couple of dollars in ads on LinkedIn against targets of companies that are in your sector, and you're getting exactly who you want. I actually like when groups are narrow, because you can get so much more specific. So anyway, I'm just very excited to be here. I want to encourage everyone to realize the opportunity.
Rule number 6, don't give up.
If you can get to the place where you have social, you need to write, sing, and dance on Instagram, use hashtags, right? You got the book, you can read it, you can go sell it for $4. I don't give a shit what you do, but you need to go out and you have to make content at scale, because if you can sing, you need exposure. So if you can sing, well then, my question is, this is not just, I think people get confused by making it. If you want to write, sing, and dance, you also have to figure out how that's balanced with how you're gonna live, right? So there's a big difference between being Beyonce and being somebody who makes $50,000 a year singing. Both are interesting, that's your talent. So first of all, you gotta figure out how good you are, because people are delirious out here. People think they're going to the league. People think they're the next Meek. You know, people think that they're the next Beyonce. Like, people are delirious out here. Meanwhile, some people are it. So to me, here's the funniest part. There's no more debating. Take your phone, point at your fit self, and do it. And then figure out if people like it. And when people say they don't like it, you gotta make more of it. You need 2, 3, 4 years of rejection before you give up. Years. People post one post on Instagram of them freestyling, people shit on them and they give up.
Rule number 7, get experience.
We've literally built society backwards. Like, when you first get out of the school machine, which maps 0 to real life, you're supposed to go play real life to have a chance to figure out what you do. So, where do you start? You start with what are you consuming and paying attention to when you have leisure time. Do you play video games? Do you listen to music? Do you like to go out and eat weird food? What do you like? That's where you start. So what do you like, Ahmed? Like, what are you about?
I'm kind of a geek. I like to like comic books.
Good, let's start with comic books. Do you want to create comic books? Do you want to sell comic books? Do you want to buy comic books and flip them? Do you want to work at Comic-Con? All of those things would be a good place for you to start. Cold email and DM 850 different people that are players in the comic book world, and one of them might reply to you and that starts your career. Like, you could literally work for Funko tomorrow. You could literally work for Marvel tomorrow. You could. You just have to write 137 compelling emails and DMs and LinkedIn things. What's up, brother? Yeah, bro, you can literally do that. Who's 43 and older? We couldn't do that, Ahmed. That's not how it worked when we were coming up the game. You didn't just like say, like, actually, ironically, once in a while I come across an OG who's like, actually, I did do that. I wrote 800 letters. It took 2 months for me to get a response instead of 2 hours. But yeah, man, I mean, like, in the comic world, there's the movie aspect. There's the actual skill of it. Like, if you like the drawing of it, you could. Look, let me tell you one thing about winners. A lot of winners didn't get there by accident. So when you write a winner an email, your favorite illustrator at DC Comics, hey Sarah, I will bring you coffee, get your laundry, grind and bleed just to intern or work at minimum wage just to see how you do it.
Rule number 8, be grateful.
I love that everybody's so into math and big data and quant and have not deployed the level of gratitude around the math of 400 trillion to 1, which is the odds of being a human being. There's nothing you'll ever accomplish that's more remarkable than that you have a chance to accomplish something. If we can lean into gratitude, there you go, a lot of good can happen. I don't know, I'm just super grateful, and it is an enormous, there is no Red Bull, there is no soda or coffee that comes anywhere close to gratitude. People think I'm drugged the up. I haven't even smoked a cigarette in my life because my mom got Nancy Reagan'd, and so I just came to realize, this insanity is predicated on gratitude. When you're so grateful for the at-bat, you're happy. But people dwell about dumb shit.
Yeah, the small stuff is so small. And
people are like mad when they get the wrong milk. Like, seriously, I go to Starbucks, I travel a lot, you go to Starbucks and like, I asked for almond milk. I'm like, this bought a $7 coffee. Like, it's crazy. The is the matter with people? We need to start some sort of cultural rule that anybody who's mean to somebody that works at Starbucks should get punched in the throat. Like, it should become a meme. Like, it's the collective responsibility of somebody to punch that person in the face.
Rule number 9, have a simplistic mindset.
My great-grandmother and grandmother came from the old country, and really almost every time they drank tea or when the men were drinking vodka, you'd always kind of do this thing where you spoke to good health. Everything was to good health, to good health, to good health. And I think it brainwashed me in the greatest way of all time. For me, 2020 is a year that has incredible underlying pain for a lot of people who feel that they were robbed of years with people they love. I am one of the lucky people that did not have that happen. And so thus, after that, you know, Vayner speakers and Vayner productions took massive hits, lost millions of dollars. Doesn't register because that's business. That's almost like not real life. Like money is not real life. Real life is very basic. Do the 12, 15, 20 people I love, did they live in 2020? And yes, amazing, best year ever. And you know, I also am a good operator, but I will say this, if I owned 15 restaurants, it would have been, and we were mandated to close. Now, from my perspective, because I always believe in innovation, I believe my DoorDash and Uber Eats and direct to consumer would have been stood up already, and I probably would have grown. And I think it forced a lot of restaurants to finally do the right things. And so it's just a really interesting time. If you're a capable operator and you have life in a simplistic mindset, you're going to be happy way more often.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is be patient.
I worked for my dad's liquor store when I was from 22 to 34 years old. I built my dad's liquor store to a $60 million business, and at 34 years old, I left and had nothing. It was my dad's business. I would inherit it one day, but I hope my dad lives forever and I'll be 90, right? So, like, I did what I thought was right. Different circumstance, but I did what I thought was right. I was an immigrant kid. My parents took me from Russia to America. I wanted to pay them back. I worked my face off, gave up all my 20s, right? Super easy to be humble with her when you're humble. You know? So, you know, when I hear you asking that question without knowing every one of your details, I think you gotta do what you have to do to get to the next step to give yourself more options. Got it? So like if you're good at it and it works and it can get you to that next spot that gives you options at 30, how old are you?
I'm 15.
Mazel. You're 15. If that can get you to a place at 27 that gives you options, you'll be a kid at 27. At 15, you think 27's dead, old. I get it. I remember. But I'm telling you to your face, it's young kid. You're a young kid. How many people here would love to be 27?
I am.
I want to go away from home.
Get to that next spot.
I want to do my own work.
I get it. Listen, let me tell you one thing that you will not hear often. The person that knows how to eat the most amount of shit usually eats the most amount of caviar. Got it? You need to eat shit. Get to the next spot. Not directly. But you understand? If it's good like that and that can get you to the next spot, that's perfect, regardless of what it is. Whatever gets you to the next spot is exactly, move forward. It's good, man. I'm glad if you have something like that brewing, that excites me. That's real easy for me to see how it can go for you. You just gotta be patient. That's where you gotta stay disciplined and save that money and not buy all the stuff that's getting fed to you that you need. It's hard to get to the next spot when you spend $700 to buy a Supreme bag.
Now I've got some special bonus clips that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you just watch a video and you get motivated, the sign says you have a 35% chance of actually following through. That's not good enough, Believe Nation. We need to take some action. But when you watch a video, you get motivated and you create a specific plan of action, that number jumps from 35% to 91% chance of you following through. And when you publicly commit to other people, like leaving a comment down in this video, your number jumps to 95% chance of you actually following through on the plan you set for yourself. So I wanna know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week. Leave it down in the comments below so I can celebrate you.
For me, my whole world has only been about the consumer. It has nothing to do with B2B. It has nothing to do with anything. I will never allow anybody to have leverage over me and the end consumer. So my selling hasn't adjusted in a social media world. It's just excelled what I've always naturally done, which is engagement at scale. And reverse engineering and asking questions and listening to what you actually value versus what my audacity wants you to value. Selling to a VC and getting funding is the furthest thing from selling to the end consumer.
Sometimes a lot of people may try a new initiative and then they don't get an immediate reaction, and they think it's a failure.
That's
and
right.
I want to go back to your YouTube videos with the wine library. You know, you had so much content out there. How did you stick in there? How did you keep yourself motivated?
Because I believe in my strategies and I'm patient as shit. Like, all great stuff, especially when you're innovating, doesn't happen right away. This notion that like, oh Gary, I tried it, I spent $500 on Facebook ads, it doesn't work. Well, what if your video sucked? What if your product and service sucks? I tend to do things that are very early. That has been my career. When I do things, I believe in them. I stick with them based on intuition. Even though for 18 months nobody watched my wine videos at all, I knew it was right, I was right. There's been things I've done that I've jumped off of very quickly. I started a Gary V app, VChat, V-E-E, like WeChat, I thought it was funny, for my fans, great CRM one-on-one. Didn't feel right after a week or two, spent plenty of money building it, stopped it after, a couple months. Wine Library TV, 5 years, every day, YouTube. Decided to change it to Daily Grape, insular app. You could buy stuff, subscription for reviews. It was a lot of fun. Only did it for 5 months, stopped it because it didn't feel right anymore.
Okay.
It's always hard to know when to jump off something new, but I find that people don't believe in what they're doing. They hear a guru and they do it begrudgingly because their boss wants them to, or they're like, well, Gary's right a lot, so let me do it, but they don't believe it. And so then they're looking for no's instead of yeses. Everything I do, every business development, every event I do, every time I try a new marketing tactic or sales tactic, I'm looking for the yes.
Right.
I'm looking for the yes, and if the no punches me, well then I'm like, crap, the no punched me. I believe the majority of people when they try new tactics are looking for the no, and you're gonna getting a lot of subtle no's immediately.
Right.
And so I think that's why that happens. It is far more fun to die on your sword than to die on someone else's. I'm inspired, YouTube. We're gonna make this the episode thing. You'll get whatever you want, Tyler, but this is the core of it. You just saw it on stage. Oh, sorry. You just saw it on stage. Dying on your sword is better than dying on someone else's. So many of you are doing things, making decisions, and navigating your lives based on somebody else's thesis. You're doing it because you think it's the right thing, because your dad's telling you it's the right thing. You're doing what you're doing right now because you're pandering to your boss even though you don't believe in it. This is how it's gonna play out. You are doing things right now. Yesterday, you made a decision that you don't believe in, but you're smart. You did it because you know how your company scores. Here's the problem with disruption and innovation. Right now, you're being rewarded for being a yes person, and in 36 months, you're gonna be fired for being a yes person. And you're doing it because you just need the security of your job. I'm telling you right the now, if you're watching this vlog and you've got, like, that means you have a certain DNA. Please, I implore you, please die on your sword, not somebody else's. If you're gonna lose, it's much more fun to lose based on what you thought. Do you know how many of you are gonna lose on somebody else's thesis? It's gonna kill at you, it's gonna eat at you, it's going to be the worst fucking feeling, so please, pause this video right now and ask yourself, am I doing my shit because of me? Then you're good, whether you're winning or losing. Or am I doing it because somebody else is telling me it's the right way? Or I'm subconsciously pandering to please somebody or something because I need the short-term stability. Figure that the fuck out. You know it and I know it. You just need to do something about it. So many people come up to me and say, Gary, it's so hard. I look at their Instagram and they're not posting any of their content with hashtags, which is a by accident way to pick up exposure in a world where they have no money. When you have no money, when I took over my dad's business, it did $3 million a year, 10% gross profit, $300,000 before expenses. My first year marketing budget was $14,000. When you have no money, and I built that business from a $3 to a $60 million business in 5 years, I had to make every penny perfect. So I was right about email marketing in '96, and I was right, and because of that, I had 91% open rates. When Google AdWords came out, the day it came out, I paid 5 cents a click for words before anybody bid me up, and I was super right, and that worked.
How much is that luck versus preparation, and do you ever get anything wrong? What do you do when you make a mistake?
I get everything wrong. It's just that I can't recall it because once it's wrong, I'm moving on to the next thing. Like dwelling on what you fucked up on is the quickest way for the next thing not to work. Right?
Yeah.
So I think I do everything. I mean, you know this. This is a fun thing to say. Some people in the back know this. I was a breakout YouTube star in the first year, 2006. I decided that the right strategy was to leave YouTube completely and go to Vidler because Vidler offered me equity in their company, and I've left an enormous amount of attention. I deviated from my intention thesis to do short-term economics and equity in a company, and I lost. When D-Rock finally came in my life 2 years ago and we started to try to build up my YouTube for the first time, I was sitting on 40,000 followers in a world where I could have had millions if I just stayed the course. So I make mistakes all the time. I'm reorging VaynerMedia every day because it's based on a mistake I made the prior year. I just don't give a fuck about my mistakes. Everybody else cares about your mistakes. If you're worried about your own mistakes, you've already lost. I really think mindset is everything. And so you've got to really decide, are you gonna be positive about things or negative about things? Am I thrilled that I have the ability to do things about it to make what I'm worried about better? Or am I crippled by there's like these 7 things I need to do tomorrow? I always choose positivity. I look at other people around me. This is not just about me that are winning. They choose positivity. I look at the people around me that are not winning, that are not progressing, that are not advancing. They're choosing negativity. It's stunningly binary. It's stunningly black and white. It's stunningly A or B. This is really up to you. And really, to be very honest, to be very frank, I think the biggest impact I'm having is I read all the emails, because I read a lot of them last night as well, is shifting that mindset and getting people into that and making them understand that they're in charge of that, and hacking and trying to pour out the negativity, dump a negativity, add a positivity, dump a negativity, add a positivity, dump a negativity, add a positivity. I'm a positivity to your world. That's what I'm pushing. That's my agenda, and that's why I think you're feeling the effects. And I think you need to find more of that in your partner, in your loved one, in your business partner, in your audience. So many people get 49 comments, 48 are phenomenal. One's like, you're a piece of shit, and they spend 80% of their time on that one comment. Please choose positivity. Negativity.
What if I told you this was the last Monday morning of your life? What if I told you die this week? Would you complain about your crap job or that test you don't want to take? I doubt it. You would go much higher level thinking. Well, that's really what it takes. It takes understanding that if you're not pumped right now, if you're begrudging what you're about to do, if you're not looking forward to it, look, I respect practicality. You gotta go through school because your parents want to. You gotta pay your rent. You got student loans, I get it. But please recognize the world we're living in. We're living in a world where there's so much more opportunity. This internet thing created way more opportunity for all of us, way more. I mean, look, you might not even be alive. Like, your mom and dad could have had sex like 3 minutes later and you wouldn't even exist, and you're complaining. You could have ended up being a bus, a tree. I just don't get the mentality of being head down sad on a Monday morning. I'm gonna make Monday morning I'm gonna make you Saturday Monday morning. That's what I wanna do every morning, and that's what I want from you. Please, take a step back and think about how awesome it actually is. And then recognize that you can attack the world in a totally different way because you were lucky enough to be born during this era.
The way I do branding, I sell so infrequently that I think some of you that are watching me the hardest core need to hear this, which is it's okay to sell, especially if you believe in something. Like, if you believe in what you're selling, and that's what I'm spending a lot of time on now, trying to spend more time on really getting to a place where I really believe in stuff. Instead, I was just passive, not creating. So I wasn't selling because I didn't believe, and just letting everything come to me. But as I create these, events, Vayner Experience, a lot of events, very big on events. Events are so valuable. Just watching the 4Ds crew, its value and like how it's impacting their business for $10,000 right there. I mean, I know you're getting emails. The wine club, like $150 worth of wine for 55 bucks. Like, I've just locked in November's. It's gonna make all your Thanksgivings ridiculous. The conference, $500 2-hour session in my stomping grounds. Good deal compared to like other conferences that I speak at. But you're getting the wine for free, or you're getting the talk for free and you're getting the wine. So like, I'm very fascinated because I'm putting more pressure on myself to create things that I really believe in, which then allows me to sell more. And I just think for a lot of you, selling, the ask, the right hook is very difficult. You're passive. You like the idea of like feeling good about like giving out content, this and that. When you believe in something, you can sell it, and you should put more pressure on yourself to create things that you believe in. Biggest problem is so many of you sell shit you don't believe in. You're just doing it for the money, and you're gonna lose. That I don't like. I'm desperate for people to start defining their hopes and dreams and wants and needs on their terms, not on what I say. I don't care if you want to hustle 18 hours a day. I really don't. I really, really don't. I don't care if you want to buy the New York Jets. I don't care what you want or need. You need to care about what you want and need. You can't worry about what I'm saying. You can't worry about whoever your flavor of the month is, right? Maybe I'm your flavor of the month right now. Maybe your consistent flavor of the life is your mom's point of view, is your older brother who's guided you with good wisdom but wants you to be a lawyer, but you don't want to be a lawyer. You want to be a street artist. You want to take the chance of being an entrepreneur, or the reverse. Nobody preaches and loves entrepreneurship more than me, but I think you see me all the time talking about like self-awareness. Are you one? This is the golden era for entrepreneurship. People ask me for selfies. This will go away. It may not go away for me, but it's gonna go away. Like, you know, it's entrepreneurship, like a rap artist, like a baseball player, like the heavyweight. Nobody cares who the heavyweight champion of the world is right now. Nobody cares who's an active astronaut, but they surely did in 1969 and 1954 for the heavyweight champ, or who, you know, they change, and it will always change, and it will continuously change. And right now, entrepreneurship is in this pedestal. It's having its moment. And what I'm fearful of is that you watch my videos, you see my Instagram quotes, and what I want to clarify for everybody is I hope you understand, I am not giving advice to everybody. The only advice I'd like to give to everybody is to do you, to find what your North Star is, to understand yourself, to understand what your work-life balance ambitions are, what your financial ambitions are, what your life challenges are, the problems that you want to try to solve and cure, as we all do as humans, trying to climb those different mountains in our lives. What makes you tick? That is all that matters. I don't do Daily V or all these videos for you to be like me. I don't think anybody should be like me. Boy, there are enormous amounts of pressures and sacrifices that I recognize are just not healthy or valuable to anybody else. But it's also not healthy or valuable to me to do some of the things that you want me to do. Like, it's not fun for me to work 9 to 5. Like, I will break. I will be as equally devastated as you would be to work till midnight every day. And so we just need a call to action for everybody to recognize we have to stop judging everybody else. I'm not judging you. I'm creating content for you to use as a barometer to try to figure out what you like and what you don't like. And I'm trying to provide value through my words, my actions, and my content to bring to people to amplify their worlds. And that's really it. That's the clarification. Like, I don't want people to be like me. I don't want people to do me. I want people to do themselves. And they just have to start with understanding themselves and not trying to be like me of this moment, or that person the next moment, or that person the next moment. The people that most win are in tune with themselves and figuring themselves out. Here's a really, really important piece of advice that I think will bring you value. Please don't stay quiet because you know it doesn't matter and you know it won't play well in the room. Now, that doesn't mean be like me and be super combative. It means be respectful. But let me give you one humongous piece of advice. The world's gonna change. Animatics are the stupidest of all time. Ipsos is the stupidest of all time. It can't sustain itself, and it will break, and it's getting closer than you think. So it's important for you to share your actual points of view in these rooms because people are watching. And right now you may be frowned upon, or it's silly, or it's naivete, or it's a kid talking, but everybody's watching and listening. And in 3 years, when that person's fired and it goes to a new place and they have to win in digital, they're gonna be like, hey, she knew. And so die on your sword. A lot of you are staying quiet because you know it'll help you grow, but you guys are agreeing to things you don't actually believe in. You're doing it because within the 4 walls you work in, that's what you know the rules are. It seems like it makes sense. The problem is we're at a point of transition. And what always happens at a point of transition is you guys are in a very precarious spot. You're the last of the Mohicans. So you're gonna uphold the past because it's gonna play in the room, but you're also gonna live through a career where it's going to be frowned upon. When you apply to the progressive places,
they're gonna wanna know where you sit on this. What did you do about it? We're gonna talk to the clients or the other people. Like, if you don't have a track record of at least communicating your points of view, you're definitely not gonna have work. This is one of the biggest things. You're still gonna need a real ninja there. It's like you may be thinking that I'm watching the show, but what I'm doing is what I always do, which is I'm reading your comments. YouTube, I've said it for all the new ones that are here. The comments are my oxygen. I don't think people understand how much qualitative feedback you get from comments, reading comments, watching the explore pages, looking at how you guys respond to my stuff and others. There's so many hours of consumption. You know, this is where I don't consume shows and things of that nature, because I spend so much time reading your feedback. As a collective, I consume you guys more than you consume me. And so I just highly recommend, when you have a small audience, like, you read every one of those comments, you engage with every one of those comments, brick by brick by brick. Eventually you can't reply to everybody, but like, you can always read a lot. I mean, I'm just reading all these comments. The problem is, if you have the greatest hammer and the greatest screwdriver and the greatest wrench, the greatest, in front of you, if you don't use them properly, you will lose.
Right.
If there's a nail that I have to put in that ground, but I take the wrench and I hit it when the hammer was right there, it still comes down to the practitioner. And you have to be good at your craft, and you have to love if you don't love sales, if you don't love it, you have no chance. Because it's so hard, it's so painful, there's so much rejection.
Right.
So those are the things I think about.
So technology is clearly an enabler, as you've just said there, though.
Yes.
The person is equally important.
More important.
Right, and going
More
back
important.
to
I just apologize for jumping in, but let me make it perfectly straight. If I go play Roger Federer right now in tennis, and I have the greatest tennis racket ever made, like taken from the Mars's new resources, and he took a John McEnroe 1974 tennis racket, he would whip my ass. Like, I'm crushing salespeople that have every Salesforce, every one of your competitors, 37 features, upgraded, went to every pro conference, watching this. I will beat their ass in sales every day of the week. Pure talent. If you don't provide real, actual value to people in exchange for the money that you're asking for in return, you will lose over time. It happens every time. You might be able to make some quick cash, but you will never win long term. And you will go through the same shit over and over. There are plenty of 30, 40, 50-year-olds in here who go up and down, up and down, up and down, because their stuff is horse shit, and it's not coming from the right place, and they're looking to make a quick buck, and some character on stage says that they got a process that's gonna make it happen fast, and they're wrong.
And it was, you regularly say that failure propels you. Are there any instances in your past truly where you couldn't get over it, and why?
Nope.
And that's why
I mean, by the way, that's the same answer for everybody in this room. That's what humans are good at. We all fail. We've all failed. Like, my parents haven't been killed, my child, I mean, there's people that have their children die. Like, could you imagine? Like, the idea, listen, unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how one wants to look at it, I'm a pretty optimistic guy. I lost 3 of my 4 grandparents before I knew them. 2 before I was born and 1 very early on. So, you know, it's easy for me to be happy. I have my shit in the right order. The health and well-being of my family. And there's nothing even remotely close to that. Not even remotely. People have gotten through much worse. This is why I'm trying to recall our grandparents and our great-grandparents. People were persecuted and killed. We do not have real headaches. I don't know why I have this highly emotional and then completely unemotional part of me, but I mix them together to create the balance, and that's what works for me. So of course there's nothing that I couldn't get up from. Like every other human ever besides somebody who now lives in some weird cave that we don't know about. You know what I mean?
I do.
We are strong as shit. We're really strong. We're just being sold that we're not, because there's a lot of money in telling us that we're not pretty enough, thin enough, smart enough, good enough. That, I want to tell you, you're the best, go do shit. When are you gonna start talking?
What are you waiting for? If you are not communicating, you don't exist. I believe that. If you are not communicating, you do not exist. More importantly, communicate about what you love. What scares me about the long tail of the internet is I know there's somebody sitting in here who's watched every episode of Friends, okay? Deeply loves Friends. Can't get enough in their own mind of debating Rachel and Ross. Loved the show. Watch it every night to go to sleep to. And I know they make $49, $62, $88, $103,000 a year doing something they don't like. And I know that if they started a podcast about Friends every day when they went home, instead of consuming content to escape the fact that they don't like their job, if they created content around the thing they love, that after 24, 36, 48 months, that along could have came Netflix and been a sponsor of that podcast that would allow them to actually leave that job they hate and now be a full-time Friends podcaster. You don't believe that. I understand that. That seems like a far-fetched story to you. The problem is you don't live my life, because I wrote a book in 2009 called Crush It that laid this out, and I get to live the best life now where I get 3 to 6 emails a day of people that tell me this exact story. Whether it's about pickles. People like pickles. I do too. I eat pickles like crazy. Star Trek. Esports, don't even get me started because I used to push it a lot and people have gone completely and made real careers in that. Just stuff. I just really, really, really hope you hear me today.
I've been feeling a little bit unmotivated, and I've been feeling like I should be doing something, or I should be I feel like I should be pulled and like, I'm feeling uninspired basically. That's my question. How do you get, when you lose inspiration or you lose motivation, how do you get it back?
I get it back by remembering that you might die tomorrow.
That's true.
So I'm inspired by practicality and reality and the truth, which is, it is ridiculously impossible to become a human being. I am one. I have other good things going for me as a human being, and I'm just grateful. You're dwelling and looking at what you don't have versus looking at what you have. If you actually looked at what you had, your health, living in America, who the heck knows what would be on your list? If you actually spent all your time looking at that versus, I don't have $1 million, I'm not famous, I don't have this. If you spent all your time on what you have versus what you don't have, you would be the happiest girl on earth.
Should I launch my business on the side or take a gap year and try to launch it?
Both work.
Both?
Both work.
Which one is best?
I don't know you well enough, you know. You know what I mean? They both work.
Yes.
Which one do you want to do?
I would like to try to take a gap year, but I'm scared.
Well, that's why you're not asking.
Yes. Which one will you do?
I wouldn't take either.
What will you do then?
I can't answer that for you. Fear's holding you back. You know what you want to do. The only reason you're not doing it is because you're scared of doing what you actually want to do. Right?
Yes, that's...
Are you scared to do it because your parents won't like it?
No, my parents actually support me.
Okay, so what are you scared of, failing?
Not failing, but still being at the same place when my friends are at the next level.
Huge mistake. You don't want the same thing your friends want.
No.
So why the f do you care what they have? Number one mistake so many people make is they care about what other people have. I don't give a f what anybody has. If I have more, if I have less, doesn't matter. I worry about myself. The fact that you're worrying about other people's accomplishments is already a losing formula. You need to get rid of that first, then you can focus on yourself. To be great, I think you have to fight. And I very much think that my success is a product of some level of skill, but I do think I win because I outwork people. I really do believe that. I do believe that 100%. And I'm not sure that if my dad didn't set that example, that I'd even have the ability to think one could work that hard. The fact that I've been working 19 hours a day, every day for the last 20 years is easy for me. It's the only gear I knew, right? I was poor, I sucked
at school. It was the only gear I had. You know, I think you need to recognize that that your biggest advantage is that you're hungrier than your competitor, and that if you're not applying your one advantage, which is your work ethic and the hours that you have to put into your business, well, then you're gonna come up short. I sit here with enormous assumptions around all of you that you're just too soft to beat me, right? That I think that you've had it better, and that alone doesn't allow you to beat me. Somebody will come with a countercultural point of view and be like, Gary, that's cool, but I don't have to work that hard because I'm working smarter. Yeah, me too, asshole. I work hard and smart. Now what? Look, there's a 12-hour, 10-hour, 8-hour, 15-hour workday. You can finish a lot of things in those 18, 12, 9 hours, or you can finish medium amounts of things or lightweight things. People focus on too many small details. Way too many people in this room are gonna spend the next 30, 40 years of their lives trying to check the boxes of the things that they're not as good at, and that you're gonna waste a load of time and lose. I highly recommend for all you hustlers, because there's a lot of you that are always talking about, Gary, I do work hard, and you do. You work for 16 hours. Some people just don't have the attention span or the capacity to remember, or like, there's a lot of things I can't learn. I was a very poor student because the subject matter bored me, and if I was forced to become great at understanding the great artists of the 20th century, I'm in big trouble. And so I would tell people to bet on their strengths. You need to bet on your strengths and don't give a about what you suck at. And to put themselves in a position to win with their strengths, because that is absolutely the straightest line to success. Greatness comes from adversity and looking the challenge in the eye and having the intestinal fortitude to kind of to step up and go after it.
Amy asks, a professor once said to me, it's better to be a big fish in a small pond. Do you agree?
Amy, I'm gonna be very upfront on this question. This is a good way to bang out the show. That sounds like a loser professor to me. It's small time thinking. I don't subscribe to it. There's a lot of practicality in it, right? It's a lot easier to be the most successful businessman in St. Louis, Missouri than it is to be in the world, right? So I understand the thesis, but honestly, that to me is very conservative, not in my DNA thinking. That could be great advice for a lot of people who are delirious and think they're better than they are, though I love to drive through self-esteem and optimism, and I think early in your life, you should absolutely shoot for the highest stars that you can. I think as life moves on and time moves on, you need to become more practical. You've got bills and kids and all those kind of things, but to start off one's career in the first 20 years, call it till you're 40, to be in that thinking, I think that limits. There have been so many people who've hedged and settled in their lives, and honestly, I'm not the kind of character that's going to play in that kind of sphere. I'm going in a different direction. It's what comes natural to me, but it's also because I think I could be the biggest and the baddest in any game I play. It's just how I'm wired. I think this comes down to, it's probably very good advice to some, and it's probably atrocious advice to others. And this is why I continue to say, if I could inject anything into anybody, it would be self-awareness, because it would help you answer this question. Because for a lot of people, it's probably really solid advice. For me, and for many of you watching this, it's crap advice. I think, again, what I'm really trying to establish in this talk this morning, is I don't think people have quantified the opportunity. I struggle, regardless of circumstance, with people dwelling or complaining in a world where the internet is free, has no idea who you are, could care less. It's right there, and it becomes a game of skill, not necessarily finances, to actually win. It's interesting to me. It's interesting to me that you can be in the retail business overnight by setting up a Shopify account, which costs nothing, when that same action to sell something 30 years ago meant that you had to sign a lease and build out a store and rely on the local traffic that walked by. It scares me and excites me that the biggest music company in the world, Spotify, was built in Sweden by a kid. And on and on and on, and you've heard every story. But more importantly, for every ridiculous story we've seen of Instagram or Facebook or Uber or Spotify, there are hundreds of thousands of stories of people with wins
that are micro versions. I actually think the most unhealthy thing in entrepreneurship and opportunity is the big stories and everybody thinks they have to build $1 billion company. I think we do not talk enough about the practical $150,000 a year, $300,000 a year, $700,000 a year business that you genuinely love what you do and you can live your life being happy and financially sound, and what the cost of entry to be able to do that is in today's environment, which once again, let me say very slow, between putting out a media company, if you decide to put that on a WordPress or a Squarespace, a retail company, on the back of a Shopify, you could start a radio show that is global on the back of just uploading something you record on your memos on your phone and upload onto Spotify and Apple and SoundCloud. My friends, distribution is free. I know it's a nerdy thing. Like it's not like some big profound statement, but let me say it nice and slow. Distribution is free. It used to cost a fortune. Now what you put inside of it is the variable of your success, not your financial capabilities to create the distribution. You have to, like, I wish we could zoom in. I literally have goosebumps on my neck right now. No, but really, I really do. It's like a very, I will live my last breath trying to get people to understand this is remarkable. This is a game of perspective. Are you educated or capable of seeing it from the lens that I'm speaking about today, which is the barrier to reach the end person, whether you're a financial advisor and trying to get to a client, whether you sell bow ties, whether you want to be, how about the fact if you want to be a professional football player and now there's all these websites where you can upload your film because the scout didn't come to your tiny, tiny town and now you actually can be discovered. Like, everything has changed. My question and my dream every time I speak is, can I get one person in this room to get their piece? Evan, thank you so much for having a couple seconds and being able to tell the Believe Nation a little bit about Empathy Wines. It means a lot to me that you would take this valuable real estate and time on your channel to give me some love. It means a lot. It's just good karma points, and so you're awesome. Thank you. Believe Nation, if you're into wine at all, go to empathywines.com. My whole career's work was poured into producing a wine that rivaled $40 to $60 wine for 20 bucks a bottle. I'm just super excited about this subscription-based wine business. You can order 3, 6, or 12 bottles in subscription form, rosé, white, red. If you search on Instagram or Twitter, you will be blown away. People are literally like, I don't even like Gary Vee, but the wine's good. Super proud of the effort. Thanks, Evan, for the time. Wishing you guys all happy and healthy.
If you want even more Gary Vee, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
I think one of the reasons I'm successful, and one of the things I try to push a lot of people to think about is, can you love your process? You know, if you're in this, and entrepreneurship is cool now.
Yeah.
If you're in this,
Too cool.
Too cool.